I'm Christian Abbott.
I'm Nathan Lavender.
I'm Sean Abbott. And this is the Red Mist Podcast. Hello, and welcome to episode 20 of the Red Mist Podcast. Tonight, we got Nate and our special guest, Alex Gomes, joins us back, and we're going to talk about NASCAR and a bunch of other racing news that has come out within the past week. There's really no other racing that's kind of gone on that's, of like the high profile between F1 and Indycar, with Indycar being over and F1 with their break in between Italy and Singapore. So, Nate, let's kick it off with NASCAR, and we're in the playoffs. What was it? The last round of the last race of the first round?
Yes. So the round of 16. This was the last race in the round of 16. Bristol night race was the last race for that, and a lot happened. It was kind of this Bristol race wasn't as exciting as what I guess it was hyped to be, but the weird trend that kept happening throughout this round was non-playoff drivers taking the win. And that of Brad Keselowski, not the driver, but the owner, won this race with Chris Buescher in the 17 Fastenal Ford. And that was, he wasn't like really he wasn't around all race like at the front. He was like, top 10. Hanging out, lurking, as Sean would put it. But he, got through all, obstacles and was able to snatch the victory. And I'll tell you what, I saw Brad Keselowski out there. He won stage one, and stages, I know they don't mean anything except for points. That's really it. Ruins strategy, but again, another conversation for another day. But, it was really cool to see, actually, well, now I'm adding it, both Roush, Fenway, Keselowski cars up front and really contending for the win. I was wondering when, since Brad Keselowski added his name to the ownership program, when they would get their first win. And, better late than never. I mean, it is pretty, impressive that they got it, in their first year, at least under Brad Keselowski's management as well. It's certainly exciting. And then, looking at the playoff picture, because I know both drivers are not in the playoffs, sadly. We're going to take a quick look here. There were four. This was an elimination round, so there was four drivers that really, were going to get eliminated, and I'd even had a total of six drivers that really had a shot at it, and there was two that were really going to be feeling lucky out of it, really just above the cut line, bubble drivers, if you will. And those were Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric. They snuck through to get into the round of 12, which will be, it will be next week. I think it's Texas. Texas will be next week, or this weekend rather, to kick off the round of 12. And the four drivers that got eliminated, I think three of them are really shocking, I will say, but one is, I would even say, predictable. I'm just gonna begin it. Austin Dillon, I really saw this happening, getting eliminated right away. His Mickey Mouse win at Daytona, I was just, geez, man, how did he make the playoffs? But, playoffs are the way they are. But I'll tell you what, I'm shocked that Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick did not get through, because Kevin Harvick will kind of work away from the bottom to the top. Kevin Harvick, he was having a really slouchy first half of the regular season, I'll say, the first 13 races and beyond were really just really not Kevin Harvick-esque, if you will. He would normally be up front, but after after his Darlington win in 2020, the first race back from the pandemic, he really has been really I don't want to say slouching, but I mean he really hasn't been necessarily a factor in a lot of these races, and it was a consistent trend, and that kept going in 2021, and now it's kind of like rolled over into 2022, except for getting into 2 wins in a row, beginning with his win at Michigan, which I mean, a clutch victory. I would say one of Kevin Harvick's top clutch victories, just at the end of the regular season this year. And Kyle Busch. I mean, normally Kyle Busch would have, I would say, 5 to 8 wins this year. He only won 1 race, and it was the Bristol race. And Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe were fighting for the lead, and Austin. I keep doing that. Why am I doing that? Chase Briscoe dove into the inside and took both of them out, and Kyle Busch was inherited victory, which, I mean, nothing new. Kyle Busch would win at Bristol anyway, at least on the pavement. Fun fact, he was the first driver to win in the Car of Tomorrow when that was a thing. Yes. And he won at Bristol when that car was first introduced. And so nothing new for Kyle Busch winning at Bristol, but he also won he can win at dirt too. So I was really shocked that he got eliminated. I really thought Bristol would have been a race where he could really up his game. Same thing with Kevin Harvick. And even furthermore, Tyler Reddick. I'm going to put this as a surprise for the level of consistency he had at road courses. He would always be in the top 5. It seemed like, and he got 2 wins on road courses this year, and it was, if he can make past the round of 16, I would really see him as like a real threat for the win in the Charlotte Roval. But unfortunately, that's not going to really. A win's a win, but it's not really going to help anything in terms of getting a championship. For now, he's eliminated, and Kyle Busch is going to be taking over that ride next year in the 8 Chevrolet at Richard Childress Racing. So, if I'm being really frank up front, I'm really shocked that those 3 drivers, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick, 3 different manufacturers, Tyler Reddick being in a Chevrolet, Kyle Busch in a Toyota, switching into Chevrolet next year, and then Kevin Harvick being in one of the Fords. Really shocked that those 3 drivers were eliminated. But speaking of the 3, I am so glad the 3 is eliminated, because if he went beyond the round of 12, I think he would have ruined everyone's brackets going into there. But looking forward, I really do see, like, in these next 3 rounds, look, you're going to have this is probably going to be the most wild 3 races coming up, I would say. You have Texas, which, I mean, okay, it's probably going to be the snoozer race between the 3 coming out. Then you have not just yet, Talladega. I mean, who's going to win that? If I'll tell you what, if Ross Chastain wins that race, sweeps the Talladega races, oh my gosh, I'd expect. Pitbull and Justin Marks to come out into the finish line and throw watermelons on the start finish line. That'd be fun to watch. And then going over to the Charlotte Roval. I mean, look, in the chase drivers, look, you can't go any more further than Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson as like favorites to win that race. Ryan Blaney did win the first Roval race. But he's not really like much of a factor in road courses, but I think he'll show up, get a decent finish. And Ryan Blaney actually would be a really strong choice for Talladega, actually. I think you know, you have the Penske drivers, all three of them in the round of 12 so far. Maybe they, you know, work together and work their way to the front. I could really see that happening. And same thing with the Trackhouse. It's not just Ross Chastain that's made it through. Daniel Suarez is in the round of 12 as well. So maybe there could be something happening there. So it's getting pretty wild so far. And Christopher Bell, of all drivers, has a great lead over William Byron. I mean, I would not have picked Christopher Bell to be leading the points right now. I would have guessed the Kyle Larson. Maybe not his best year, but Kyle Larson, you know, he has a strong shot to defend his title.
Does he now? I just wonder. First off, hi, I'm Alex Gomes. Thanks for having me on once again.
Hey, Gomes.
Hey, Alex. Sorry for not introducing you
usually
earlier.
on the Formula Hooligan podcast.
This is how good NASCAR gets. I get caught off a whim, especially if you say, if someone says Austin Dillon's a great driver, I might just have something to say. But
you won't get that comment from me. Don't you worry. It's just funny that you say that he has a good chance of defending his championship, only because I've been vaguely following NASCAR this year. I know he got one win, correct? Right?
Yeah,
or two? Did he Kyle Larson?
Way less wins than what I would have guessed. I'm trying to.
Right.
He's definitely got one win. How did he get in?
He's got a road course win, right? Didn't he do? I think he's got two, because didn't he do Chase Elliott a bit dirty at Watkins Glen?
Watkins Glen was one, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, and there was an oval winner.
Well, dirty, I don't know. He swung him wide, and there's no out of bounds. No. At least in NASCAR. If it was IndyCar, I mean, it's an airplane crash. But...
I saw a good comparison video of that, and it was a video of Larson and Elliott doing the exact same moves, either on each other or on other people, and it's whenever it was Elliott, it's no, this is okay, and then when it was Larson, it's no, this is bad, we can't be doing this, and it was literally the exact same move.
Well, if we're comparing, apples to oranges, Chase Elliott really threw Tyler Reddick off course in the final left-hander on the last lap, and just for whatever reason, there was no beef leading up to that. Chase Elliott driver code gave him the double bird. And just threw him off course. Yeah. But Kyle Larson also won at Auto Club this year.
Yes,
the second race in the.
That's right. Yes, and I knew it was early on.
Calendar.
Yeah.
So he does have 2 wins going into these playoffs, and I really do see him winning, in the playoffs, because playoff Kyle Larson we saw last year was just almost unstoppable.
Basically, like Jimmy Johnson, 2006, 2007.
Oh, 2006, 2000, yeah, right, all that, all 7 years.
Yep.
So he's certainly a threat.
Yep.
Let's see, Chase Elliott. I really don't want Chase Elliott to win.
No. What do you got against Chase Elliott?
What I got?
Yeah.
Listen, I saw what he did at Watkins Glen to Tyler Reddick, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Look, he's got, 4 wins this year, I think. Because I know he won at Dover. Did he win at Nashville, or was it... I think he won Atlanta. Yeah, he won Atlanta because he threw the block at Corey LaJoie and caused that wreck in Pocono. He did win Nashville. Okay. So he won there. So that is 4 wins to his name. And oh my God, he came in second at Bristol. I was like, oh my God, please, I do not want Chase Elliott to win. Chris Buescher, please bring this car home. Don't have as Kevin Harvick would put it, crappy ass parts. I did not want those crappy ass parts to all of a sudden break down on a Ford, let alone, right? But oh my God, so happy, Chris Buescher won that race. But hey, listen, these playoffs are only just going to get more crazy. I think I know Christian is just drooling over these playoffs, but I just
Oh, dude, I spent
know.
so much time.
What comes next?
I spent so much time just drooling over the TV this weekend, just watching these races. Just by like the fifth lap, I was just.
Oh yeah, right. Like it comes to like, well, hey, Christian, guess
Drooling
what?
on the
They're coming
pillow?
to Texas, not Coda, but Texas Motor Speedway.
No, I'm just personally, I'm not a fan of playoffs and racing.
No, me neither. But
Who is?
I'll tell you what.
Does anybody? That's a good question, actually. Does anybody know anybody who is a fan of the playoff bracket system in NASCAR?
or just like
if you had
just
Tony
the
Stewart
playoffs.
in it, he would say no. Get rid of them. I'm telling you right now.
I mean, just the playoff system in general in motorsports. It's not. It's not baseball,
awful
basketball.
idea.
It's not.
Like, yeah.
It's not one of your typical American sports. Like it's motorsports. This is
That's played on the same type of field every
Right.
single weekend.
right.
No, it's not what motorsport is.
No, I've always seen motorsports as you either have a season or when it comes down to deciding who's a better driver, ultimately a shootout, and it's one day kind of thing. So I mean,
Right.
And the way as someone who's not a hardcore NASCAR fan and really the thing that just turns me off from NASCAR is just some of the bogus driving and how you can I get like the bump and runs, but like dumping people, like that's just where I can't get around
you
it.
You can wreck somebody on the last lap of a restricted plate race and win the race.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You
Right.
win.
Yeah, there's no
Yay!
stewards review. There's nothing like where it's just like, oh well, the car didn't pass inspection, so we'll just disqualify 2 cars, and third place gets to win, right?
Right.
Okay, no.
So for me, it's like
I'm just
and then
geez.
and then
Is
when
that
they
what
come
we're
down
doing
to
here?
when they come down to the green white checkers for me, I'm like, well then what's the point of running 500 miles if you're going to run 2 extra laps at the end? Just have a 2-lap sprint race after qualifying and be done with it. That's what the race comes down to. Like half the time I watch these things.
So you know what that does? You know what that does? Because you see it. I'm going to give an example. So if you have like, I'm almost thinking like, all right, what would happen if there's a caution with like 5 to go? You run the 5 laps under caution. Well, IndyCar certainly tries not to do that. They'll red flag a race.
Oh, what do you mean, like F1 at Monza?
Oh, I know.
I
know.
I don't care
terrible.
if a race ends under caution. I'd much rather see safety. I am kind of against throwing a red at the end of a race just to have like a quick 5-lap shootout, because again, I think you're artificially creating a scenario. So again, why run the whole race prior just to have a somewhat jumbled up order at the end, and then you end up having a crash fest because everyone's desperate. And when an endurance race becomes a sprint race, you can have chaos. And I don't know. Do you really want? I don't want to see a lot of these guys be wrecking cars, and then you got to think about the crew and then the teams that spend the amount of money that go through it. And if you're trying to save money in today's world of motorsport, like that's not how you do it.
No. Agreed.
No.
So
I'm glad someone's going to say it, dude. Dude, I listened to like the BBC official podcast after that F1 race, dude, and they were all like, "Oh, it was so sad that it ended under caution. They really should have thrown a red, so we had a race at the end." And it's like, no, because if you tried to throw reds intentionally,
right,
so that you had a short race at the end, you're going to turn into NASCAR, where they have 3 green-white checkered attempts. And it turns into a shit show, and it's like you just said, Christian, the last 70 laps meant nothing.
Right. And this is
and I'll tell you what, Nick DeFries was so happy to see that race under caution. He was like, "Oh, right, P9." Like,
yeah.
So that was really good for Williamson. I'm telling you, don't sleep on Nick DeFries. Don't.
I don't think anybody is, dude.
No, I
Christian,
especially after this weekend, last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Christ.
Yeah, I think I guess we could probably segue into F1 news if we want to.
Do it.
I guess the only other bit of NASCAR news that I had just to kind of wrap up was that
the
Xfinity Series replaces what was supposed to be an IMSA support series that was going to run at Chicago for next year. So that's about that. So it's just going to be an all NASCAR weekend there. But
such a shame. IMSA should have been there.
yeah, well,
Look, I know it's a crappy track and it's just like 90-degree corners everywhere.
Is it the exact same copy as what iRacing did?
yes, yeah, I
It's the
think
exact
so.
same thing.
Yeah.
Directly.
But anyway, so that's I think with NASCAR owning IMSA, you want to see kind of a combined weekend, I think, in my opinion, because if you're going to promote both series, why not? And I think that worked out well this year at Indy when they did that weekend. Anyways,
but I think of a race like when IMSA and IndyCar went to the streets of Baltimore. Look, I know their biggest thing was fixing that huge bump in the main straightaway, but I'll tell you what, it did put on a great show with the American Le Mans series. But I remember watching that and going like, wow, this is actually a really good race, good configuration. The only thing that was the problem was trying to create a chicane with a huge ass bump.
It was the railroad tracks, and then just not having some of those manhole covers welded down.
Right. And even IndyCar had an all right time with it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, if you're gonna have a street circuit, like at minimum, you need. I think you need like 3 different types of series there. Like if I'm going into if I were Steve Phelps, right? Is that the guy that's running NASCAR? I think that's his name, CEO.
Sure.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Good old Steve.
Steve-O, right? But so look, if I was running NASCAR and we had this opportunity to go to the streets of Chicago, look, what I would do is, all right, obviously you have the Cup Series. All right, you have the Xfinity Series because their schedule is every year it seems like they're adding another road course. Like I think they're up to maybe 8 to 10 road courses at this point.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Series, like they keep adding road courses. So at that point, all right, well, right there, no brainer. Let's put the Xfinity Series. And since IMSA's under the umbrella, you now have an opportunity to like put IMSA in it, and you could kind of have those drivers that kind of do the triple. Like if it ends up happening, like I'm thinking like a Watkins Glen weekend. Like if somehow IMSA and like NASCAR did it, it's never gonna happen. But because you got the 6-hour race, and that's just like too long.
No, yeah, you can't do it with.
Yeah,
it has to be just exactly what
like a 2-hour, 40-minute race or whatever.
Yeah, exactly what it was like at Indy, where it's just like 2 of your normal length races, so, and not one of your big headline events, because you wouldn't do the Daytona 24 hours and the Daytona 500 on the same weekend. That's stupid.
I know, right? Oh my god.
I mean, that's a very big
after like the 24 hours.
Yeah.
They're like, here's the Daytona 500. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like, so that would be definitely racing overload. But I'll tell you, look, you got to put IMSA in this a street race. IMSA deserves a street race for sure.
I mean, what series would you put?
Where do they go? IMSA. In the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, at minimum, you could have the Michelin Pilot, or no, you know what? The prototype challenge would be really fun to watch. See some LMP3s,
because I was gonna say if you're gonna put the WeatherTech Series, the big boy IMSA Series there,
WeatherTech, that's what I was looking for.
What track would you substitute it for?
Oh, it's such a good schedule.
Because that's the thing is IMSA's. That they don't want to go on a crazy. They don't want to go on a crazy, like F1 kind of schedule where we just keep adding races, because they want to kind of keep the cost down. So if you're gonna add a race to the calendar, then you need to take one off, because that's what they're doing with Indy. Is that I don't think they're going back to Mid Ohio, and they're gonna add.
Which I mean,
they're gonna keep that Indy, or they're gonna make that Indy race longer.
Uh, yeah, well, like, what would I add for a track? Oh,
So,
man, that would be.
I-
Yeah, no, I guess that's for another discussion for another day.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
you know what? If we're adding a track in IMSA for what it is right now, I think they need to go back to Sonoma. I think that'd be a great race for them. I know that
That would
it's
be
like
cool.
kind of like
Mm.
I know there's like bad blood with it now because like Dale Jr. was on fire there when he was driving with Boris Said in the Corvette in 2004.
Oh God, it was like
Yeah.
over 20
That's the
years
only thing-
ago.
I was gonna say, dude,
That's the only thing I could think of. Like, oh, why aren't we going back? Oh God, how could we remember like such a bad day? Like, I don't know. Like,
Well, I mean,
Cars are
it's the
way
only thing I
safer
could think
now.
of. Like, but I'm sure it's like, yeah, it's fine. Almost 20 years ago. So, what other track could?
we'll say
Motorsport. That's a good track. That's a good
Motorsport's
track.
a great track.
Yeah.
Motorsport's a really great track.
We can,
I think they should bring the. This came up a few times when we were at the Vintage Weekend for Lime Rock, but they really need to bring the prototypes back to Lime Rock. I don't see why they
Yeah, they
don't.
do. Yeah, they
Yeah.
race. Christian, we saw LMP1 cars.
I was gonna say
For Pete's sake.
Yeah,
like,
we saw LMP1 and LMP2 there, like no problem, and then
Yep.
but of course the
but if they did the uphill,
complaint, no, yeah, it wouldn't be with the old uphill. It would be with the new chicane, which I mean,
Which is fine.
yeah,
Whatever. I
if
understand
it,
it. You
if
don't
it
want
brings them
these-
back, it brings them back.
Yep.
But
that's already a huge discussion. Like IMSA's already like just shooting themselves in the foot with that weekend.
But the biggest complaint that I always hear is, oh well, the closing speeds are too hot or too big. I'm like, but that's multi-class racing.
That's multi-class racing.
I'm like,
Why? It's no different at Lime Rock compared to any other goddamn track with a long straightaway.
I know, especially
Lime Rock doesn't even have long straightaway.
No, and it's that's the thing. It's quick. I hate the term bull ring. I'm
Well,
I don't know why.
I mean, it's small.
It is
compact,
yeah.
and for a road course, I think
It's the bull ring of road course tracks.
Yeah, so what? I mean,
But
we
it's
have Bristol on the
awesome because
schedule
of
for
that.
NASCAR, so
Yeah, no, but that's again, it's tight, twisty, fast. That's exactly what I like out of it. And the best one of the things that I like about it is that it's short enough that you can lose a lap under green flag pit stops. So it really throws like strategy into it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You gotta account for that full course caution, potentially screwing up your entire day.
Oh yeah.
oh my God, I know.
So-
That would be. Oh yeah. Oh,
Well,
Christian, when are we going to be strategists for our racing team? Huh? Jeez.
well,
I mean, you can
That's
download
racing.
F1 2022 Manager right now if you really
Yeah.
want to build something.
I've been all over YouTube and watching. If there are crashes on there, crack me the hell up.
They're funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are funny to watch. Where
Yeah.
it's just like the car locks up, two cars make contact, and they both just slide in the same direction.
It's not a real crash. They're pinballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I saw one
the ping
where.
pongs.
Well, here's an example. There's oh my God, this one made me probably laugh the hardest. There was two Ferraris and a Red Bull going into turn one at Barcelona, and they collide. The two Red Bulls are off, but then like the Sergio Perez car hits the wall and then like hits the wall at the end, but then takes that hard right, goes right back into the track, and like two more get collected.
Jeez.
It's because he like hit the wall, not like an actual crash would stay there, but just like full throttle drove back onto the track. I was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
By the way, folks, we're talking about a
Pure
video
comedy.
game. This is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
stuff that's
right.
actually
Not
happening
actual.
in reality.
Just,
No.
These aren't actual events. Sergio Perez is fine.
Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of F1, they dropped 2023's calendar today.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, 3 American races.
24 races total.
Well,
We were expecting the 3 American races, but there are some
Yeah.
surprises coming back, and one of them that I forgot about. That I think I'm pretty sure it was scheduled to happen anyway, but I'm just surprised to see it once again. Is that Qatar is coming back?
Yeah.
And when I saw that on the schedule, I was like, oh, that's right. They made some like 10-year deal from 23 on to just go back.
Yeah.
However, I thought they were going to make a different circuit for that track. I thought they were going to try a street circuit, but they're going back to LaSalle or however you say it. which I think is a fantastic decision. That track to me is hilarious because it's such a great track, and on paper it shouldn't be. It's flat as can be. There's no surroundings. There's only one straightaway, and the rest of it is a bunch of corners. And you would think with F1 cars that depend on downforce, and they have the wash with the aero wash and whatnot, that it'd be a crap race. But like, it is amazing to watch those cars whip around that track at nighttime. It's incredible. And like, they have the best curbs. They don't have sausage curbs. They have curbs that destroy tires if you go off track, which I think is perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
It solves all the how far can I go off track without getting in trouble? Well, if you go off track, you get in trouble. Yeah. That's awesome.
It destroys the tires, not the car.
Right. Nobody has to go flying 50 feet in the air and crack the neck when they come back down. It's
Right, and Fernando Alonso knew that and got a nice podium out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
I was so pumped to see him on there.
The best thing about something that can, I guess, blind your view on a race is the last time we went there was the first time there. So you're having an experienced F1 paddock go to a track with no data and then have them just like make adjustments on the fly. So obviously that's going to shake up stuff at the beginning because no one has any familiar surroundings with that track.
Right. I mean, I would guess they probably looked at like Bahrain data as far as like similar environments, similar. Probably. Kind of sort of similar track. And, but yeah, it is always exciting to go to something new and have nobody have any data.
Right.
But this time they'll be going back with data, but I still think like it's a great track. I really like it.
Because last time they were there, it was with a different generation car. So
that's true. Absolutely. You are absolutely right.
And with a completely different tire.
Well, right. And I'll tell you what other race comes back is the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I am very surprised to see that.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, that race track has a lot of history with it. Almost like it certainly decided the 2007 championship with Lewis Hamilton. One of my favorite F1 event like sneak attacks almost is when Sebastian Vettel has two cars just before the pit line.
Yep. Oh yes, I know the exact highlight you're talking about, dude. That was
right
incredible.
Back to the pit speed. I was like, that's the best overtake you could ever do.
Yeah.
It was so like outside the box, so high IQ. Like I was like,
yeah, exactly. It was.
There's
no. I can still pass you guys here, so I'm gonna do it.
So, it's good to see China coming back. I think I like the track. I do. I
like the track as well.
But I think with I guess where everything is in the world, I think just having it back in 23, I think that was probably I don't know if that was too soon than what everyone thought or what, but.
Well, what was the reason that it wasn't on the calendar initially? Was it COVID scares or what was it?
My guess would probably be that. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't live in China, so I don't know what's like over there. So, but I mean that would probably be my only thing because I know over here in the U.S. we've opened up quicker than the rest of the world. So I don't know where the rest of the world really is at, and if there are still countries that are taking it to extremes or whatnot. So.
Yeah.
But aside that, the season starts at Bahrain again, just like it did this past year, but this time it starts on March 5th compared to this year.
Yeah, that's early.
March 20th. Yeah, so you're 2 weeks early there, which allows for the Chinese Grand Prix to slot in as the fourth race in April, and then I guess like the middle of the schedule, I would call it kind of the European tour, but you kind of like bounce back and forth between the east coast of of North America and then back over. But you got after China, it's Baku, Miami, Imola, Monaco, Spain, Canada, Austria, and Silverstone. And I only go from race 5 to 12 because within that you have Baku, Imola, and Spain doing kind of a mix-up to what it is this year, where Baku is run earlier in the end of April compared to mid of June, and that's done for that week specifically because that's going to be Le Mans that they've worked the schedule so that Le Mans and F1 don't clash on that weekend. So if F1 drivers want to go, they can go race.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. What about? Oh no, they always have Monaco and the Indy 500 on the same day, huh?
Yeah,
it's never different.
Yeah, that's where it kind of after. So once the Chinese Grand Prix slots in, after that the weekends of when races happen pretty much follow suit as they have done before.
Sure. Yep.
With this year, so there really isn't like a difference in days of when everything is occurring. The only different spread really is that Le Mans weekend in June.
Yeah.
So Baku, Imola, and Spain, they kind of mix the order up of when they go to them. And then the only other switch up is Austria is ahead of Silverstone. So they just swap. But then before you hit the summer break, instead of having your last race before going on vacation being the Hungaroring, we're going to do it at Spa this time.
Right. And then we come back afterwards to Zandvoort, correct?
Yes. And so you don't get a triple header. Actually, I don't think there are any triple headers.
No, I'm looking at the schedule.
There's gotta be. There has to be, dude.
Yes, there is actually. Imola, Monaco, Spain.
Imola, Monaco, Spain.
Imola,
Yes, yep.
Monaco, Spain. Absolutely, that is a triple header. Yep. I think I read it was like 2 triple headers, 6 double weekends, and 6 single weekends, something like that.
Look, it's the United States Grand Prix, Mexican Grand Prix, and the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's the other triple header. Yeah. So then
that'll be good for the end of the season.
Yeah,
I like that.
The end of the season pretty much follows similar to what we have this year, where from Hungary down to Abu Dhabi, it's the exact same thing, except everything's pretty much from Hungary to Japan, from Zandvoort to Suzuka, everything's moved up a weekend to then slot in Qatar, and then Coda, Mexico City, and Interlagos are on relatively the same weekend. Actually, Interlagos bumps up a week to then slot in Vegas, and then they go over to Abu Dhabi to finish out the season as usual. But that race is happening a week later than when it's going to happen this year. So you're talking an additional 3 weeks on the schedule.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's 24 weeks total. Have we ever had an F1 season with 24 weeks?
No, and the past 2 years they've tried to do 23 races, haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, you have COVID complications because of that.
Well, and then this weekend was supposed to be Russia. So I mean, they haven't. 22 is still the barrier to break. So we're gonna go 24 next year, but
evidently we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if anything interrupts that.
Right. I know.
Alex, I swear to God, if you just jinxed it, I'm just
But I guess.
I don't know.
Well, so
it's not my fault.
No,
I'm not in any position of power. I'm not the ruler of any of these countries. I can't tell any of them to go to war and invade any of these other countries to, deny an F1 race for that country that year.
Nope,
not gonna be my fault.
Races. Yeah.
No,
it's happening.
You're gonna be like France, who holds up the white flag and says, "Nope, I don't want a part of the schedule," because that's the race that's not made it.
Right. I'm actually fairly shocked that the French GP has not made it whatsoever, because it's not popular with the fans. Most people will be outward and say, I hate the track. I don't like the red, white, and blue, stripes that are outside of the track. It makes me sick. There's no scenery. It's just a boring race. However, I feel like having a race in France is important. I mean, for the FIA, because isn't that kind of where the FIA is based in Paris?
Yeah, well, and
Yes.
that's also where, because France is one of the original countries that was on the first F1 schedule.
Right. So you
So-
would think having a French GP would be like important for the
Yeah.
sport, for the history,
But
for the heritage, and yet they're like, nah, we're not racing there next year.
Well, but the same can be said for Germany too, because Germany still remains without a race on the schedule.
I know.
So,
That's such a shame.
but I think between the two countries, it's funding from the track.
Yeah,
Which,
I mean, when you demand
yeah.
$25 million US to
Yeah,
host an F1 GP, yeah, I can see that.
but yeah, I don't see that.
I am surprised though that Paul Ricard can't pull it, because you would think like
I know.
it's such the perfect track to test cars at. You would
Well,
think that
that's just
all
it.
year
All they
round
do is
they're making
testing.
money from private people who want to come in and test their cars. It's such a consequence-free track. If you spin out, if you go off track,
Yeah,
you're probably not going to hit anything because it's just all asphalt. You would think that would attract so many manufacturers to go out there and test when they can, whether it be their race cars or street cars or just track day warriors, whatever. You would think they'd be pulling in the money, but
Well, isn't there like multiple different like configurations? Like,
yeah, there's like 1,000 different
you can do
configurations. I
whatever.
mean,
right. I was gonna say, like, am I crazy to say like 100 different configurations? I
you're
think I'm,
probably
like,
a little bit
I don't-
crazy to say 100.
I think it was somewhere around like
something
50.
well. I was gonna say it's something like north of 20, right? Episode 20 joke.
yeah.
But
I mean, hang on, I kind of want to view like the top of Circuit Paul Ricard, if that's even like an image. You know what? It would be an image is on Google Maps actually.
Yeah.
And you could just see they can make an oval out of that chicane thing.
Yeah.
that or Microsoft's flight simulator where it's like streaming Earth constantly. Oh, I'd fly over France for a little bit.
Well, and this is the thing. It's like, so what other tracks in France can you go to? And I think that conversation has kind of hit a dead wall.
Magny-Cours.
You can, but I think that they're in this. I think they're worse financially than Paul Ricard.
Probably.
And then
just call it Monaco. Just call it the neighboring French Grand Prix race. Like,
yeah, I guess that's the argument. But
well, that's just it. Because like, look, when Olivier Panis won, the French people lost their minds. When I mean, you know what I mean. So and like it's.
Wait, you mean the people didn't? Racing? You mean the people didn't lose their minds when Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly won a race?
Didn't happen at the French GP.
No, it didn't happen at the French Grand Prix.
I know.
But I'll tell you what, if Romain Grosjean won the Monaco Grand Prix, that'd be insane. If he won at
very true. Yeah,
right. I mean, if
Leclerc can pull it off.
Yeah.
If Leclerc can pull it off, that's going to be a while before a Monegasque driver wins again, like a different one.
Yeah.
That place will blow up. I mean, what is it? I don't know how their palace works. Is it prince and princess, or like is it like whoever hands over the trophy, double kisses on the cheek on the podium. So something like that. But hey, I'm all for it. I'd love to see it, but. I mean, Christian, like I said this year, I didn't fall for the hype. I wasn't hypnotized enough.
For the French GP?
No. The Monaco Grand Prix with Charles.
Charles Leclerc?
Leclerc, like the dessert.
Charles Eclair?
Eclair.
You're talking about Charlie Eclair?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Eclair. Oh. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah, but the previous race at Monza, he was his banana.
Oh, no. A peeled banana, too.
Yeah.
Like, when he had his fire suit off. Oh, my God. Well, look, I'm still gonna say it. I don't know why he still went with 2 pit stops. That still look. I know you're trying to go opposite of Max Verstappen, but I mean, I'm just too harsh on Ferrari. But I'm surprised there isn't any more memes about that.
Well, Red
on,
Bull
like,
also
F1 troll.
Red Bull also came out and said that they would have done exactly what Ferrari did if it was swapped around, if Leclerc didn't pit. So
Sure.
but
Sure, yeah. However, Red Bull, there's been a lot of talk about that Monza race, dude, but like, I really think it just came down to Red Bull having a better car, man.
I think that was
no matter what was going to happen.
I think that was just a very average race, and people are just trying to make it up to be more than it was. And it's like I think people are. I think just in general, from last year and the first couple races of this year, F1 has been very hashtag blessed with the amount of exciting races we've been able to have. Because before, what racing is whoever wins the race wins it by 20 seconds, and then the rest of the field is just kind of like meh throughout. Like that's what F1 has been. It's not something that is close racing all the time, every single weekend.
Right.
It's nice to have that, and that's why it makes special, memorable moments, but it's not what makes it, the historically close series that people think it is. Like that's not what racing is. Like it is a lot of like your runaway and blowout wins, if you want to call it that.
Well, if you look back at Monaco, where Checo had that train, he had Carlos Sainz behind Max Verstappen, and then, I mean, what should have been a Charles Leclerc win was
Chocolate Leclerc.
was 4th out of the 4-car train in that. I mean, classic of a Monaco Grand Prix, but no one could go anywhere because what I think Rashawn put it in the one of the episodes, or at least after that weekend, actually day of later on we discussed it before the Coca-Cola 600. It was Carlos Sainz couldn't do anything. If he made a move and choked, Max Verstappen would have been like, "Ooh, free second place spot."
It was exactly how rental kart racing is at F1 Boston, or like how that was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
What?
You can't. You just can't make a.
I never thought of it, but yeah, you are right.
But I mean, think of those leagues. Like you couldn't get offline, or someone would slip by you, and the whole train would go by. But like that's what makes Monaco special. Like it's a different race. That's what it is. You win it on Saturday, pretty much.
For the most part, except for Ferrari, they can't win on Saturday.
Hey, everyone has their problems.
Ferrari just has more than others,
All right. In terms of the schedule, I do want to point this out. F1 claims that they're all about sustainability and putting down zero carbon, zero whatever they call it. But yet they make a schedule that logistically makes 0 sense and does not help with a cost cap issue at all.
Very
of course
little.
So
yeah.
I just want to state the obvious.
Do you see how spread out for starters? Do you see how spread out the American races are?
Okay, so the
one in the beginning, one in the middle, one in the end.
The only thing that I can logically make sense out of this calendar, if you take the money aspect out of it, like just put that to the side, the only thing I can logically put forth with this calendar is the temperatures of the time of year. So that way people are not like dying on the race day. Because I mean, imagine, because you can't run China at night, and China during the summer is hot. You're not going to be doing that. So putting it in the spring makes sense. And same with I mean, the fortunate thing about the Middle East Grand Prix is that they do them at night, so no one's really having an issue there. So I mean, really, for them, their placement is just money and where they want to slot it into a calendar. Singapore is probably it is your most brutal race just because of the length of the race, but it's also in the hottest location on the earth, and it's right at the dead end of summer. So that is definitely the worst race to make your way through.
Yeah.
but like you can't do Coda in July. That's awful.
Oh my god!
And you can't do Mexico
No.
in the summer. That's awful. Like there's just some
Yeah.
races that don't make sense to do that. And I mean, even Vegas, like I know it's in November, but I like that they're going to do it at night, because even during the day, that can be a challenge.
For people watching it in the East Coast, though, it is going to be pretty tough. Like, it's going to be like, I think
We're
it's
gonna
at
do
like
it.
1 or 2 a.m.
That's
Aren't we
fine.
trying to go?
I am.
What?
Huh?
Aren't we trying to go? We might be going.
Oh,
Here's the funny thing. I've had a friend actually ask me, like a friend who doesn't really go to a lot of races, but asked me like, "Hey, I'm trying to get a group of guys to go to the F1 race in Las Vegas." This is like, whenever
Yeah.
they announced it, it was like a month afterward. And he's like, "I'm trying to get a bunch of guys to go to the F1 race in Las Vegas 2023. Do you want to go?" And like, I personally am
yeah.
not. Like, even when Miami happened this year, I'm very skeptical of being an early adopter to anything. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun. However, what's the fan experience actually going to be like? Is it going to be a shit show? Is it going to be actually... Because, like, I'm a Formula One fan first. All right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people that went to Miami to just go see a motor race because it was like, can you believe they're going to bring these cars to F1? Let's go, just go see it.
Well,
they're not actually fans of Formula One.
Well, also, and if you were rich enough to afford a ticket too.
Right, it doesn't even matter to you. Absolutely, they can just go ahead and just go to it, and then they probably played on their fake yachts on that fake marina the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm a Formula One fan. I like to go to a Formula One race, watch the race. I hope to have good coverage throughout the race when I'm there live. I mean, that's what you get when you go to Montreal. You get a screen in front of you, no matter where you're sitting, and commentary when you can hear it, so that you know what's going on throughout the race, even when it's not in your section. And those are the things that I like, and I like to pay attention to the actual race and what's going on.
Yeah.
And I worry being an early adopter to these new American races, because it's just like, I heard Miami was a little bit of a shit show and to get in and out of, and I don't know about like TV coverage when cars weren't in your section and stuff like that. And I'm a little bit skeptical that Las Vegas could be the same way, where it's like you might be sitting in a section, you see cars go by, but do you know what's going on afterwards? Is there a screen to tell you what's going on? Is there going to be any commentary? Or is it kind of just like, hey, we put asses in seats, and that's good enough for us. We made our money. And commentary and whatever. Those are the things I worry about. Oh, getting people out in a timely order when the race is done. Yeah, I mean, they'll get out. Maybe not the same day that they showed up for the race, but it's just...
Well, they'll guide you into the casino and then trap you there for the next 3 days and take all your money. So
yeah,
that's
actually
what's going to
another
happen.
thing that I've worried about.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've worried about is, like, I've never been to Las Vegas. If I'm going to go to Las Vegas, I'll try gambling, and I'll try, the whole experience. And then I'm going to go to a Formula One race, because the race doesn't start until, like, 10 p.m. or some shit like that. So, like, who knows if I'll even remember the race.
Yeah, Doug. Where's Doug?
Yeah, really.
We lost Doug.
You're gonna be on a table playing blackjack and you're gonna bet your general admission ticket to the Vegas race and lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might lose your go-kart there, Alex. Who knows? But
yeah.
No,
so I am personally not aspiring to go to the first Las Vegas Grand Prix. Well, it's not the first Las Vegas Grand Prix, but it's
no.
the 23 Grand Prix. I'm gonna let it just happen and see what goes on. I heard decent things about Miami, so like if somebody invited me to Miami next year, I'd be like, yeah, all right, sure, as long as it's not like $1,000 a ticket. But I am going to let Las Vegas happen. I'm going to let people tell me how it went. I'm going to watch it on TV at home, and I'll probably be a super nerd and watch it at 11 p.m. over here, whatever it's going to be, or 1 a.m., whatever it's going to be.
1 a.m., I think, yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be 10 p.m. over there.
Right.
So I have family that lives in Vegas, so that's why it's like for me, it would be like, oh, it kills two birds with one stone. So that's like why, like, it's like, imagine having a race, like, say if the race was in Boston, right? Like, it's just in your backyard kind of thing. Like that. That's kind of the appeal from my side. However,
Indycar, are you listening?
The jeez. If IndyCar can just go to Watkins Glen, that's close enough for me.
Hey, fair enough. Close enough. Yeah.
This thing about like F1 fans have to wake up at like a ridiculous time in the morning or whatever, especially like all the British or European people being, so uppity about it all. I'm like, the F1 fans in Australia and Japan deal with this 24/7.
Right, they have no choice.
So this is the thing. It is a world championship, so everyone takes their turn. Like whenever it's the Australian or Japanese Grand Prix, all the hardcore fans that live in Europe or in the Americas are up at 1 a.m, 6 a.m, 5 a.m, whatever it is, at ridiculous hours watching the race because we're all crazy enough to be doing that. So that's
happens to the Japanese Grand Prix every year.
Yes, yeah. So because but the best thing about today's world is you can just DVR the race and just watch it later. Or record it and stream it, whatever you want.
DVR is even old school these days.
I was going to say.
Download the F1 TV app.
Right.
Sorry, I'm dating myself.
Yeah. Sound like Sean.
No, he'd get it. He'd get it on ESPN's Wide World of Sports.
I see.
Speed Vision.
Sean, we miss you, by the way.
Yeah. Currently on business.
Sean Abate.
So
it's a joke.
With this schedule, I should mention Monaco has been contracted until 2025.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just announced that today. I was scrolling through my phone and making notes.
No way.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram. Pretty pumped.
With some other notables about the schedule, with Spa being the last race before the summer break, that is typically the weekend that the Spa 24-hour race occurs for GT3 racing. So that has also led to a bunch of European GT series having to shuffle their schedules around to try and make it work, because obviously they have some drivers. Well, obviously they don't want to be conflicting with an F1 weekend because that takes away some of their crowds that they have at their events. But because the Spot 24-hour has to now move because you can't have that race on the same weekend as an F1 race. That's also led to other series having to move their schedules around because some of the GT drivers are doing multiple series like that. So,
just F1 flexing their muscle, being like, "Here's our schedule. You guys figure it out."
Yeah, because the other two schedules that everyone's waiting on too is the WC schedule for next year. Which
WEC?
Yes, WEC.
Yeah,
or WEC, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's rumors that they're supposed to add a 7th round to the schedule, so Portimao is supposed to come in.
Wait. WEC has only ever been 6 rounds?
Currently, it's 6 rounds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of endurance races.
But every race is 6 hours plus, right? So you have
I understand, but 6.
Well, what
is this, like a Gran Turismo championship?
So the other thing, if you the other thing, if you go sports car in the history books, you had guys that would compete in the what is known as these WC races, which are just like the long events, right? Because instead of it being the 6 hours of Spa, it used to be the 1,000 kilometers of Spa. They've now had, I don't know if Monza is still the 6 hours of Monza or if it's the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Like 1,000 kilometers used to be the thing, and then because then they brought the 1,000 kilometer back with Sebring when they were doing that. And then, but at the same point, like back in the day, they had all the manufacturers that would run at the 1,000 kilometers of Spa, Monza, they would also run Daytona 24, Sebring 12 hours. Like they would come back and forth across the Atlantic and do that. So your big endurance races, it's only the WC is only 6 rounds, but the way the schedule used to be and how everyone could work was that you would jump and fly to all the big races, because then you also have Petit Le Mans at the end of the year, which is a 10-hour race. So you'd be doing stuff like that. So they only do 6 hour, or they only have 6 races, but they're going to add a 7th round hopefully next year. And I guess WC
Portimao, you're saying?
Yeah, Portimao. And then
All right.
And I guess just a WC note, this season's finale is going to be on at the end of October, and that's the 8 hours of Bahrain. So
they usually end at Bahrain, right?
Yeah, that's where they've been doing that.
Yep.
So that'll be good. Last little bit of F1 news, I guess. I don't want to get into a whole super license conversation, because we could go on for hours on that one. So just to skim this, Colton Herta doesn't look like he'll be getting a seat. So just to go focus on the rest of the driver market, does Pierre Gasly get released from Red Bull? I don't know. Does De Vries go to Williams or Alpine? I guess it's kind of dependent on whether Red Bull and Helmut Marko decides to release Gasly to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I mean,
what still cracks me up? Marcus Ericsson is still very much right about his predictions in the F1 roster.
Yeah,
his tweet is just, it cracks me the hell up. I'm really waiting for that last final Alpine, AlphaTauri, Domino to just finally drop, to really set everything into course. I mean, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Well, what was Magnussen's tweet? I'm not familiar with this.
No. Marcus Ericsson.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Marcus Ericsson.
Did you see his tweet about his predictions of what the driver grade would look like?
I have not. No.
Oh, I will.
I gotta find it.
We will find it and send it to you. But he released his predictions for what silly season would be, and this was before. I think this was right around
any announcement.
This was before any announcement and any retirement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even contract renewal.
Yeah.
Because I was confused about the Zhou Guanyu portion for a while. I was like, well, he's already there.
But so he actually, I think did he predict Piastri to McLaren, or was that to Alpine?
Piastri to McLaren. Okay. No, it wasn't that. He was way ahead of that. He was like, okay.
Yeah. No, but
you laughed at it.
No. I just can't remember what he tweeted exactly, but it's some of the moves and rumors of what you hear today, his tweet is very, very plausible. So
really,
yeah, because everyone was like there's no way they're doing that or whatever, and because I think he has Ricardo going to Haas, I think, or something like that. But you're how would that happen, kind of thing, and you're like, oh well, the dominoes are falling in the right places, so.
Yeah, but I also see a lot of headlines saying that Nico Hulkenberg is one of the lead. What should I say?
I don't know.
Candidates.
Lead prospects.
Yeah, I don't.
For the Haas seat.
Oh, I got it.
All right.
So
read it off.
He predicted Alpine would be Ocon and Gasly. This is interesting. AlphaTauri, Mick Schumacher, and Yuki Tsunoda.
Mick Schumacher, I wouldn't expect, but all right.
McLaren, Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri.
And,
yeah. Alfa Romeo, Bottas, and Zhou Guanyu. Haas, K-Mag, and Ricciardo.
Mm-hmm.
Williams would be Albon and De Vries. And this is August 1st. This is before
All right. Fairly
anything.
early.
Anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, the
Which, I
start
mean,
of the summer
he's been in
break.
the F1 paddock before and understands where where the dominoes will go. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
So far, he's right.
Yeah.
Well, he was right about Piastri.
I'm waiting for the Gasly announcement. I think that's going to be the biggest one.
Really hope that Gasly can get just free himself from the Red Bull, whatever you want to call it, just the Red Bull grasp. He should not be there anymore. There's no promise for him.
And I'll tell you, he's doing his best, like Jean-Eric Verne impersonation at AlphaTauri right now, except he has a win. But because I remember Jean-Eric Verne was there for a while at AlphaTauri,
right,
Toro Rosso. But he needs to get out of that because I think he's at a point where he realizes, okay, he's not getting the Red Bull seat.
Well, absolutely not. I mean, they gave him the Red Bull seat. He failed miserably, and like he's doing better in the AlphaTauri seat. I understand that, and like he has the one win, but it kind of seems like Monza is the place to have your one win. It's almost like the Talladega of F1 these days.
Okay, so
but like, why would they give him another chance? You know, Sergio Perez is doing pretty good in the Red Bull. He's kind of starting to now slump into the Red Bull second driver thing, where it's like, oh, this car is definitely made for one driver, and that driver is not me.
He's getting comfortable.
Well, so
he is.
So, Alex, let me ask you this: if say next year Perez isn't in the Red Bull seat, who do you put in there?
All right, you're gonna shake it up like that. So if Perez isn't in the Red Bull, well, then I got to think, where does Perez go? But I think
no.
Say in the Red Bull seat.
Say Perez, you can put anyone in there, right? Because Red Bull has enough money that they can go out and get whoever.
Yep.
So say Perez retires, right? So he's just out.
Oh God!
So who do you put in? Don't worry about filling another seat at another team. Like, just who do you replace him with that would be up to speed and what Red Bull wants?
Daniel Ricciardo. Throw him back.
They already tried.
Why not? Okay. No, they didn't. No, listen. They did try Daniel Ricciardo, right? But Daniel Ricciardo did not fail Red Bull. Red Bull failed Daniel Ricciardo. And that's why, under his own terms, he fucking just left. So you already have somebody who is in the system already, who is familiar. I mean, I know it's a different generation of car.
Yeah.
I understand that. But he's already been in the system. He's already been in the team. He was equal, if not better, than Max Verstappen on many occasions in the same car while they were both teammates. You know what I mean? Yep. Like Max Verstappen in recent years, yes, he's become this amazing driver that nobody else can touch when they're in the same car with him. But he is Daniel Ricciardo. If it wasn't for the multiple mechanical failures that was happening in 2018, was debatably the better driver, at least in the first half of the season. You got to remember that Max Verstappen was a fucking tool in the first half of the season for 2018. He kept crashing the car, especially he had that one crash in, what was it, in practice? Monaco 2018? It was just like, and I became a big Max Verstappen fan, right? And in early 2018, Max Verstappen was failing me. And I was looking at Daniel Ricciardo, and I was like, that's my guy. That guy is going to go far. He won the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah. I was like, I think he's better. I think he has a better head on his shoulders. He's going to do better for this team. But that's not the way to work, because for some reason the car kept breaking down for Ricciardo, and I mean Max turned a coin. He actually became a better, more headstrong driver, and the rest of his 2018 was amazing, which basically slowly led to his 2021 championship. Yeah. But I know it's silly to think that you put Daniel Ricciardo in the 2023 car and things would go good. But I really think that Ricciardo, that McLaren has not been good for him for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And I used to not believe that a car and a driver don't match, and that's the reason that things go wrong. Because I used to see it with Gasly when he went to the Red Bull, and I saw it with Albon when he went to the Red Bull. People were just saying like, oh, they're promoted too early, and they're not really that great of drivers, and it's just not going to work out. However, Pierre Gasly goes back to AlphaTauri. He is the number one driver, and he's won a race. Albon goes to Williams, and he is the much better driver to our Lord and Savior Gotifi. But it's not really much of a competition. However, those two examples convinced me that yes, a driver and a car can definitely not mix, and it makes bad things happen. But when a driver goes back to a car that they know, or a driver goes back to a car that they jive better with, good things can happen. So I think if I could choose, if we're going fantasy, I know, but if Perez retires at the end of 22, and you were to put somebody in the Red Bull for 23, you put Ricciardo back in there, you get him back. You mean the whole team? I think would be jovial to have him back because they never wanted him to leave in the first place. I understand that his car kept breaking down, and maybe they give Max the better parts for that year that he did leave, but it's now they would have their guy back that they never wanted to leave in the first place, and I think good things would happen. Rant over.
Well, I think when Ricciardo left, I think that was also. I'm of the opinion I think it was the right move because it's not the first time Red Bull has favored a number one driver. Because case in point, Vettel and Webber. I don't think.
Yeah.
Not that Mark Webber. I think. I don't know. I still think Vettel was probably the better driver than Webber. However,
hands down.
However, you could tell the car was built to fit Vettel. It just because you don't see a driver just that much quicker than your teammate in the same car, and unless you're Latifi and you have your magical powers to be that far off. But if you look at the breakdown because F1 will put out the qualifying gaps over the course of a season and just how close guys are still within half a second of one another. It's only the teams that you can see that either the driver is clearly bad or the car is clearly suited to one person that team that there's a big gap in the car. So Ricciardo going back there, that is definitely an avenue. I don't know if people have done enough.
It's not a realistic avenue. It's definitely a fantasy avenue because Perez is not going to retire.
No, I don't.
No.
Oh, no. But if
Vettel's hit his peak.
But if
he already hit his peak.
Vettel.
Absolutely.
Vettel back in the Red Bull.
No. I said Vettel hit his peak. Vettel hit his peak. I didn't say put Vettel.
Oh, I see. I
did not say that.
No.
No.
I think, well, if Ricciardo doesn't get a seat for next year, I think that probably could be a talk that no one would really be foreseeing. But that's also because Sergio's doing okay right now, too. So I don't think it's a...
Look, what Sergio Perez needs to do is finish second in the championship, and he has a ride for, I'd say 2 more years. So you know what?
Really?
Yeah, I can...
Because, look...
Well, what is his contract currently? Is it just he has a 23 contract and then it's
year by year
for grabs?
Yeah, I think he's...
Gotcha.
I think it's up next year, though. Because I think he's signed for next year right now.
He is. Yep. Yeah. He's definitely signed for the 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be big news if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So then people would be talking like I just did for the last 10 minutes.
Right.
It's like, is Ricciardo going back to Red Bull?
Oh my God. Look, I'm Christian. Do you have any idea who? Because I'm there's 3 drivers I have in my head.
So I would say
they're 3 completely different drivers.
I could see either Gasly or Albon getting another shot at it. The only problem is you obviously want to promote a driver up, right? And I don't really, or you grab a driver and it goes lateral.
No, driver market. what's available. I get that you want to promote within, but at the same hand, if you have another option, I feel like wait,
I don't
which
see
would be better.
with the way all the contracts are right now. I don't really see another driver other than Gasly or Albon getting that seat. Just the way everything is working right now. Who do you think?
Man, and I'm not exactly a huge fan of Helmut Marko, but I'll tell you what was really some words. And then I have two drivers which I would poach. Look, Nick de Vries is the next big driver right now. There is this Dutch wave that's happening, and Nick de Vries is on it. He's going to have a ride. If it's not with Mercedes, which he's starting to be prepped up for, it's going to be Red Bull. Or if he's, blind, he'll go on Ferrari. Okay, those are his best rides he has in front of him, and he's the next driver that's going to really take F1 by storm just because he has a fantastic resume. But he's already proved that he can get points right away, off the gate, with a tractor of a car.
He does, but...
And not even being in, Formula 1 shape.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw, he had to be lifted by his team out of the car.
Yeah. But
he was my shoulders are killing me and shit. I agree with everything you're saying, Nate.
And look, I'm just going to go further more into this because there's the two more drivers that I would just be like, all right, I'm just going to approach you just to see what you think. And it's what Red Bull, I think, should have done way earlier this year, knowing that Fernando's contract is up. They really could have really done something with Fernando Alonso just for 2 years. If you have 2 years of Fernando Alonso, what kind of blockbuster matchup is that? That's the ultimate blockbuster matchup. You'll never get Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
You'll never get Lewis Hamilton. But the other driver would be K-Mag. I would put K-Mag in that seat.
Huh.
He's just so ferocious behind the wheel.
Alonso, I would see more plausible out of those three. K-Mag wouldn't be a bad second choice. I'm of the opinion I don't overrated is overrated is a strong word for de Vries, but again, it is. I don't think he's this big hope that you see him as either, because it's he's had one race at a track that really suits Williams, and it was at Monza, and Monza is a fairly easy track to race at. Alex, like you said, it's kind of like the Daytona or Talladega of F1 with the way.
As of late, correct.
Yeah, the way as of results have fallen. I think
it didn't race that way this year. It really didn't.
No, it wasn't anything crazy like that. It was definitely a more straightforward race this year. But I think if you take him and put him in the Williams on a track where the Williams isn't the strongest, do I think he'll beat Latifi? Of course, I don't have a doubt in that. But will he be fighting up the grid as far as he will be? I'm not so sure, because Albon has shown that there is pace in the car, at least for qualifying, but race pace, it's not really there. So it's also with F1, it's a third the driver, a third the car, and a third the team. It's what it is. But that's the sport.
Right. Well, I'm pretty ignorant to the F2 stuff that goes on. I don't really watch it. I don't really pay attention. But what is de Vries' results that he's gotten within F2?
He was the champion.
He was a champion.
He was a champion.
Oh, 2019 champion.
But
2019. Okay.
But this is where, if you go another year or two back, this is where the F2 champion list falls short for me, because Stoffel Van Dorn was a champion too, and de Vries got his. True. De Vries lost out to Van Dorn in Formula E this year. So I mean, if you really want to go, if you want to go, if you want to go
if you want to bring
nitty-gritty,
that argument,
right, no. I'm just playing
won the championship
I'm just
before
playing devil.
Van Dorn did.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Neffy.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I did forget that stat. But again, this is where I'm not so sold on DeVries either, because the other thing too is, I mean, George Russell, F2 champion, he's in a Mercedes right now. Is he really wowing you? I don't know.
He's beating Lewis Hamilton.
No, he's boringly consistent.
Boringly consistent.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
No, yeah, and
it's not like he's making these amazing drives or anything, but he just continuously ends up in the top 5 somehow.
And honestly, as of like the last 5 to 10 races, I think Lewis has been arguably the better driver than George. It's not by much. That he's
not by much.
That he's
close.
Now ahead of the points, because I mean Lewis had a bad start to the season, definitely, but I don't think George is really wowing me either. And I mean, he's not really, drawing a lot of fans with his snitching in the paddock.
Oh, his radio. I know. Yeah.
So, anyways.
Latest one, Monza. He pushed me off track, turn 1.
Yeah, every single race.
Which, I mean,
copy.
Every single
it's
yeah, got it. Thanks, George.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just kind of the unfortunately with being in professional series, you also have to be kind of a driver that is more than just talent on the track. You kind of have to have a little bit of persona.
Well, here it comes. Like when Drive to Survive comes out, I'm really curious to see if there's any the behind the scenes at Mercedes, because I'm waiting for the first Mercedes employee to go have a heavy eye roll at George Russell. I will be waiting on that. And if I see it, oh my god! Well, if anyone sees it, it's gonna be a meme on everywhere.
Right.
Imagine George Russell trying to tell you something. Heavy eye roll.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to add to F1?
Not to F1.
Not really.
Okay. So I just want to go through a couple IMSA notes. The last race of the season is Petit Le Mans.
Yes. Per usual.
Risi Competizione, which is the team that runs the Ferrari in GTD Pro. Yes, they will be running, and they've brought back James Galato to return for that, so that'll be a good addition to their lineup.
Yeah.
Some other news: Ford has unveiled their new Mustang, and with the Mustang comes a bunch of GT spec cars that they're going to be racing in a lot of series. So they've got the GT3, the GT4, and then they also have the V8 supercar that they're going to run as well. The GT3.
I'm just gonna correct you there. Wait, it's not V8 supercars. It's just supercars.
Sorry, you're right.
Wait. Are they going to change the engine formats if they're not calling them V8 supercars anymore?
That's just not what it's called anymore.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's just not what it's called.
It's
but are they going to have V8 engines, or is it going to be like they can throw in whatever kind of powertrains they want now?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not. Christian would probably have a better idea at that.
I think they're still running the V8 engine because the Mustang is coming with a V8 package.
Gotcha.
Right. I just know the series is just called supercars now.
Yeah.
Which I think V8 supercar sounds a lot cooler. Yeah. But anyway, it is just. I'm sorry.
I got you.
Get that out there.
That's good. So the GT3 car though that they've unveiled is going to run. They're targeting a factory program in IMSA in 24. So this is not. It's not going to make its appearance next year. It'll make its appearance in 24. And then they've also announced, I guess, if they want to have the car run in other series, they're pretty open to customer teams doing that kind of a program. Let's see. Cadillac, their LMDH program, they've announced their driver lineup. So they got Cadillac's running 2 cars in IMSA with under Chip Ganassi Racing and Action Express. Chip Ganassi Racing is going to have Reger van der Zande and Sebastian Bourdais. So that's a cool lineup. And then Action Express
Great
is going to
driver
be
lineup.
Pippo Durrani, and they've also snagged Alexander Sims for their lineup. So definitely two quick driver lineups that they got in LMDH.
Yeah, and Alexander Sims is an animal in Formula E, and when he was with Corvette as well,
Yep.
an absolute animal behind the wheel.
Yeah.
So that's a great addition.
And Lamborghini has also unveiled that they will be running a twin turbo V8 internal combustion engine, obviously paired with the hybrid unit or electrical unit that they're going to run in that car. So just kind of some technical announcement on that. And then, but just as a reminder, Lambo is going to debut in 24, not 23. So
Right.
they
and they just showed off pictures of their prototype. Well, not pictures really, but
Like-
kinda
yeah,
like,
just some
Yeah,
some blackout
headlights.
renderings of the headlights. Yeah.
yeah.
Still kind of like a nice little salivating tease.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get into some actual race recaps. And Alex, I want to talk to you about NHKA race weekends or races that
Oh,
you've just
why would
wrapped
you
up.
want to talk to me about that?
Well, because I've heard that you've had a couple good finishes and some exciting finishes too. So, and
Furthermore,
obviously, me being the losing party in this, I got to experience your races firsthand.
Yeah.
So why don't we share with the world the rest your race from your perspective? and just
So
how
we are,
the race went.
Yes, so we're talking about the last NHKA weekend that had just passed, which you guys somewhat touched on in the last episode,
Yeah.
but very briefly.
Very briefly,
So,
because we wanted to save it for having a conversation with you.
the Alex Gomes.
Oh, please remove that "the" before my name. I'm just a human. I'm just a man. There's nothing really terribly special about this individual, except that I can. Over the years, I've made go-karts go very fast, which I'm thankful about. Which, leads into this weekend. So, so I guess I'll just talk about my experience with NHKA races 7 and 8. Had a pretty good weekend overall. Now, I don't know if anybody listened last weekend. I don't know if it was mentioned, but races 7 and 8 were on the same weekend. It was a Saturday, Sunday whole thing. And went into Saturday and had a pretty good weekend where I qualified on the pole, which was great. I got to tell you, when the racing in tag senior these days with the NHKA, it's always a bit of a mixed bag because we have multiple engines that race in the same class. And people have their opinions about how certain engines perform at certain tracks. And, I race the Rotax Max 125cc.
Evo.
And there's plenty of us that race this motor that think like, oh, the X30 has the advantage at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's just always going to be that way, and there's nothing we can do about it. So to get pole position, and like Tammy, who does the weights at the scale at the end of qualifying, she told me on the scale, I was like, oh, you got the pole. And I'm like, wait, what? So that was awesome. And I'm like, oh, okay, but the pressure's on because, like, I mean, any of these tag races that I've done, it's never like you'll walk away with the win, at least not in my experience. Mark Donato, who has been the most successful tag racer this year, he's had his experiences where he walks away and he wins the race by 10 seconds, and it's good for him.
And the champion.
And the champion of the year.
And going into these last two races, Mark was very well clear ahead. Like, I think all he had to do really was kind of just show up, put some points on the board, and he had himself locked in. So
exactly. It was known that going into this weekend that, like, Donato is the champion.
Yeah.
There's nothing really we can do about it. We're just going to go out there and try to have fun racing and, just do the best of what you can this weekend. And it's funny, I didn't realize with you, Christian, how close we were. I didn't realize that it was that close. It was down to single digits going into race 7.
Yeah, so
between the two of us.
I stupidly calculated points and did the Alan Prost approach, and that was I hate doing that. But that's the problem I have because I'm just a very
No, you don't. You love it.
You do love it, and there's an intelligence.
I know, but that's the problem because that's the other side of me where it's like the engineer. It's like I like to look at all that kind of stuff, so it is interesting to me. But as a driver perspective, I hate it because I know I drive better when I don't look at that kind of stuff. So
I see.
Because that was my approach with World Formula, because all I knew is that I had to just get consistent like top 5 finishes, and I could come down to the last race, I'd be somewhere in the play for the season. And tag, I knew all I had to do was definitely be top 3 at some point, and then you could have a good battle for either a podium at the end of the season or the championship, depending on how it fell.
Yeah.
But anyways, going into the weekend, I was 7.5 points behind you, Alex. So
yes,
and the way the points work in NHKA, if you win, it's 100 points, and then if you're second, it's 90 points, and then from third down, it's 5 points less, down to like 10th, and I think that's like if you finish like 10th or lower, but you show up for the race and finish, it's 40 points.
Correct. So, something to that degree. I don't know if that's for sure, but something.
At some point you just get 40 points for racing.
Correct, for showing up.
So the way that I would have to achieve second. So Alex and I were second and third going into the weekend. So Alex second, me third. So the way I would beat you, Alex, is if I either beat you both days just by one position, or as race 7 went along, you won, and then I think I would have had to win the race, and you would have had to finish either third or lower, or I would have to finish. I'd have to beat you by like 3 spots, basically.
Something to that effect. Yes, correct.
So,
yeah. So close. I didn't really know any of this going into the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think you even shared any of these things until like the end of Saturday, which was the end of race 7.
Yeah. I also didn't. That's where I'll keep it to myself, because I know like some people don't like to hear that stuff either.
Yeah, there's a potential if you told me that on Saturday that I might have been like, oh God, and got like more anxiety than I already had on Saturday.
Right.
But like I had previously mentioned, I qualified on the pole for Saturday, which, against the X30s at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite the accomplishment. So I was like, oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I guess I got to keep it. So we go into the race day, the actual race on Saturday. And for like, what was it? I mean, I feel like for like 15 laps, I actually kept the lead.
So the other useless fact about that race was that I started second.
Oh, correct. Yeah, the 2 Rotaxes beat 2 X30s.
Yeah, so it was Alex on pole, me on second, and then Cruz on third behind you, and then Mark fourth was behind me. So, and then the way the first like 5 laps or 2, I think it was probably 2 laps went, it was you, me, Mark, and then Cruz. And then I made a mockery coming out of the double left-hander, that like slow hairpin double left-hander, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And just it's bumpy going through there, and the car just got kind of out of shape or whatever. So
it's just awful the whole time.
Mark went by, Cruz went by. I was like, well, crap. So that was my one mistake, and that's literally the story of the race. Like they go by, and then literally, unless you made a mistake, no one was getting by. So then the rest of the race went on, and Alex, like, they were catching you slowly, but like once they got to you, they weren't really making a mistake. The only time that any of us made a mistake behind you was Mark, right when he caught up to you, and it was going into the right-hander where you enter into the bowl. So you make that crossover there. So he outbraked himself a little bit, and then that's where I almost slipped by Cruz. But then we just, again, we're all too close in performance pace. So then no one really got by anyone, and it was just kind of the order as is. And then we got back up to you, and then, Alex, you made your one mistake, and then that's when Mark and Cruz went by.
It really was just one mistake. It was going into that same downhill blind right-hander where
Off
I
camber.
don't even exactly. Yeah, it's off camber, it's blind, it's the whole thing. It's a difficult corner to get, and I think I had like outbraked myself. I might have missed the apex by a little bit, but like you get a little bit too sideways in that corner, and all of a sudden you bog.
Yeah.
And we go down into the bowl, and I'm like, I didn't see anybody beside me going to the bowl, so I was like, all right, I'm pretty good. And so I kind of track out the exit of the bowl like you would, and then all of a sudden, here comes Mark Donato and Cruz Labrie, like almost synchronized up my left-hand side. The two of them together at the exact same moment, almost bump drafting each other, but I won't say that. I won't get them in trouble. But like,
Alex, you only on a hot mic, that's all.
They just shot up my left side, and then once we got to the braking zone, I mean, so Cruz, who was second in line, he was already like way more than halfway ahead of me coming to the braking zone.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you go into that braking zone and try anything up the inside, it's almost suicide. So it's just like, I'm gonna survive this this moment here. So I let them both go by.
Did I?
And for the last, go ahead.
Was I on your outside there? I can't remember if I was.
I don't remember you being there at that moment. No,
maybe not.
No,
that might have been.
I mean, it's a good chance that you're right behind.
Yeah, no, I was definitely right behind because that the way the race ended, all four of us were literally nose to tail coming across the line.
Yep, I know. So yeah, that's basically the way the race ended. Like for the last 5 laps, it was Cruz and Mark chasing each other while myself and you were following, and we did come across the line like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it was that close. All four of us nose to tail.
Actually,
that's the way the race finishes. And I was like, all right, that's pretty good. I it's been a few races since I've scored a podium, so I was like, all right, I get a podium out of this. That's pretty cool. So the night ends. We wake up for the next day, and we go off for qualifying on Sunday. And I screwed up. I don't know if you saw me, but I think I might have been behind you at the time. But I screwed up in the last corner early in qualifying, probably like the first hot lap that we got. And I ended up going off the track in the last corner. So I go off the track and I stopped and I just kind of waved everybody by. I was like, just go by me, whatever. I screwed up. I'm not going to ruin anybody else's lap. So I let everybody go by. I get back on track. I use the next lap because, I don't have a fast lap now. I use the next lap to just kind of warm the tires, whatnot. And I was thinking like, I have a lot of space right now, and maybe I could try something here. So what I tried was that when you go into the last corner, if you take the racing line, if you're thinking about the whole corner, the racing line is very much kind of entry dependent. And I was like, I have all this asphalt on my left-hand side to use to kind of like make a really great exit for this corner to just make a fast run at the line to start a lap. Let me try this. So that's exactly what I did. I kind of slowed up nicey nice, went all the way to the left as far as I could, then whipped it right. I missed the apex, but it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to make it a great exit out of this corner. I make a great exit. I come across the line. I do my hot lap. And I came around, and the funny thing is that my data logger, the Alfano, doesn't track. It doesn't start and end the lap where the official timing starts and ends its lap. So I came across, and I remember I think the lap was like a 41.5, and like the previous day I was doing like 41.1s, 41.2s, and I'm like, oh my god, that's gonna be like 5th place for qualifying. That sucks. So I came to the weigh scales. Right, and I pull up, and Tammy said something like, we ought to just disqualify you. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, what? Why would you say that? And she's like, I was like, wait, did I get pole? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean I got pole? And like, evidently, I pulled a 41.2 something. It was good enough for pole. And I bet you it was just from like official scoring line to official scoring line that I actually did get that 41.2, and the Alfano did not relay that in the same way. So I was like, whew, all right, well, once again, in front of a bunch of X30s, and I got to just try and do what I couldn't do yesterday, which is keep them all behind me for the entire 20 laps. So we go into the race, and for the first 5 laps, I did just that. I kept everybody behind me, but I very much assumed that second place, whoever it might be, is going to be right there the whole time. And I'm trying my best not to look behind me, because that is, one of the worst things you can do in karting is, keep doing that, looking behind you, check, 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 check. Because, you'll eventually look behind you, kind of take the steering wheel with you, go off track and screw up, and then, it's no good for you. And I think it was like around lap 5, we were coming up the hill to the last corner, and Cruz Labrie, credit to him, he just shot up my inside on the right side, and he took the corner, made it grip, and he took the lead. And I was like, all right, well, that's win gone, whatever. I'll just try and follow him as best as I can. So I did. I followed him for the next 2, 3, 4 laps. But not only was I following him, I was keeping pace with him. And I'm like, this is very interesting. And then for the next few laps, I started catching him again. Like, he only ever got, I'd be surprised if he ever got more than a second ahead of me. He had to be within, 3/4 to half a second ahead of me at most. And I started reeling him in probably like lap 11 or 12. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's potential to actually take this thing back. And I was thinking, like, he's got to be getting tired or something, because he was like, he's messing up his entries. He's kind of screwing up the chicane a little bit. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There's potential. There is potential to take this back. So I gave him a few looks. Going up the hill in the last corner, which is a popular place to do it. And actually, I got side by side, and by like half a kart length, took the lead for a little bit going into the downhill of the bowl. But, him having his X30 and having just a little bit more power going up the hill, he was able to maintain the spot. So with about 5 laps to go, we were coming out of that double left-hander hairpin, and I got a much better exit than him. And this is actually a corner that I had a few looks before, but I'm pretty conservative. I don't like to be aggressive on overtakes. I try to be clean. You know what I mean? I try not to get in trouble. I try to keep the nose clean. I try to not piss people off. And so even though I'd given him a few looks in that corner before, I'd pull back in line, hit the brakes, and just follow him through and just try to see if I could make something happen elsewhere. But with 5 laps to go, I was like, I'm fucking going for it. So we're going into that downhill, blind, off-camber right-hander once again. And I'm probably like a quarter of a kart length beside him. And we both hit the brakes. I shoot up his inside, and I was just like, please, God, let the tires grip. I don't want to lock up and go off the outside of the track. And like, to a surprising degree, everything gripped up perfect. And I hit the apex. I took the lead, and I was like, I cannot believe that just happened. So I drove the next 5 laps just as clean, consistent, as best as I could, assuming full well that Cruz is right there behind me the entire time. I didn't want to even look behind me for the same reasons I mentioned earlier. I was just like, he is there, and that's what I'm going to assume, so I need to drive as quick and clean as possible. So it comes down to the last lap. We go through that blind off-camber right-hander, and I'm thinking, like, it's the last lap. If anything, he's going to look up my inside going into the bowl, because that's a popular place to do it. We go down through the bowl. I don't even see him in my peripheral vision. So we're headed up the hill to the last corner, and I'm like, holy shit, I might actually win this thing and not even be challenged. I can't believe this right now. But here's the thing. Even though I couldn't see him in my peripheral on either side, I could hear him. I can hear that little Bumblebee X30 motor just screaming off in my right ear. But I couldn't see him, and I'm like, nah, he's too far back. There's no way he can try that. So we get into the braking zone, and I hit the brakes, and all of a sudden, here he comes, just up my right side, just on the brakes as hard as he can be, but like, he passes me, and I can see the rear end of the car is all upset, doesn't like it. He's getting all kind of squirrely, and he shoots off to the outside of the track, and just as he shoots off to the outside of the track, I cut up under him, and he's off in my left side peripheral vision now, assuming that he's going off into the grass. I'm looking at Tom Prioli waving the checkered flag, Martinato is nowhere in my peripheral, so he's not even challenging. So, like I said, all I can see is Tom Prioli with the checkered in front of me. And I'm just like, oh, and I crossed the finish line, hand in the air, and Ken Rutke got the best friggin' shot of it as it happened. And I was just like, dude, it is absolutely one of my proudest victories in racing that I've ever had, by far. And not just because of that one moment at the end there, but because I had to re-earn that lead and take it back and complete the job. And to have it come down to the very last corner, honest to God, I've done a lot of rental kart races. I've done a lot of these, World Formula and tag races and whatnot. I cannot remember the last time I won a race, if this has ever happened to me. I won a race based on a last corner maneuver. It was absolutely glorious. And it was so funny cool. when we came into the weigh scales afterwards, and there were so many people coming up to me to congratulate me, but there were even more people coming up to me who, I don't know any of these people who are talking to me, but they're all just like, that was the most amazing race to watch. Oh my God, it was so fun. And, it was just, it was so fun. And then the funniest comment was Cruz Labrie, who is the one who tried this move on me, and it didn't work for him. His mother came up to me at the weigh scales, and she was like, thanks for not, taking out my son at the end of the race there. And I'm just like, well, yeah, thank you that your son didn't take me out. I mean, it's pretty mutual there. And the one thing I can say is that I don't blame Cruz at all for trying that.
No.
Not one bit. The Cruz doesn't have any wins in tag yet.
No.
He does the double weekends. He does he does 206.
Yeah.
And he has his wins in 206 and whatnot, but he has yet to get a win in tag senior.
Yeah.
So I almost thought maybe that was one of the contributing factors to me thinking that maybe he was, quote unquote getting tired. I also wondered if he was also quote unquote just nervous. You know what I mean? It's the first time he's leading a tag race, first time he could actually win this thing.
Well, so the weekend that I won earlier in the season, he was leading and I beat him.
Yeah.
Within I think I overtook him the last. Oh no, that was right. Bryce was running up there with us, so it was the three of us at the front, and then I got by Cruz at some point. But it is that like we've mentioned, some of the younger guys in the tag group, they just. We've kind of noticed just from how long we've been racing is that there's either just a mental slip or you just make your mistake and then that's kind of it. But that's you got to remember as the races go on, you have to be on top of everything all the time. And I'm looking back at the results right now because NHK posted all the stuff on my laps or Speed Hive, and the lap times between you and Cruz are literally a tenth or less every single lap.
Right. That makes sense, dude. So, I mean, we were just on each other the entire race, whether I was ahead of him or he was ahead of me. Yeah.
And then
we were right there with each other.
Just backing it up a little bit, the race that we finished nose to tail, the difference between Mark winning and me in fourth was half a second with Cruz and yourself in between. Us. Yeah.
Yep.
Best lap time for those races, I had a 40.04. Cruz had a 40.04 as well. Mark had a 40.06, and you had a 40.2. So, but you were running mostly in clean air, so I'm assuming that those lap time, those 0.2 of a second, were probably from the draft.
Yeah.
And then the race time. For Sunday's race, by best lap time, I had a 40.02. Wow. I can't believe I did that. I had a 40.02. And then, and that was on Sunday. I don't, my rib was killing me that race too. I ended up backing off so much.
Yeah.
And then Mark had a 40.1, and then you and Cruz had a 40.2. Like
Yeah.
we've the four of us have definitely been running very close these last 3 races, and also Hugh North didn't make it this last weekend.
I know.
Which was a shame because he was right in the points battle with me and you. So that would have been a fun weekend to have.
Dude, he would have been right there for the win the whole weekend.
I know. Yeah. He could have snuck in one.
Absolutely.
I loved his win at Canaan. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Between like 4 drivers for the win.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, dude, and I was telling you over the weekend, like, how close we run in this and just not get together with one another and have a good clean race. Like that's how it was. Like when I started running at F1 Boston, like we'd have like 5 or 6 cards you could just throw a blanket over and have the same kind of racing that the 4 of us had. Like that's what I loved about it, because we could all we all showed up, raced super clean, super hard, and didn't take anyone out, so we could do it the next weekend.
Right. And nobody has to yell and cry at each other at the end of the... Dude, right now in the NHKA, I hope it continues to next year, but I think Tag Senior is the best class to be in right now.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion. Like, World Formula, you guys are still doing good in World Formula Light. It's still very fun to watch. But, I mean...
I think World Formula has become less hooligan-like. The craziness has kind of shifted to the 206 class just from the last couple race weekends.
Yeah, that's the way it seems, and it also seems to be shifting into the junior classes a little bit. But I only ever see the news from the junior classes from social media. I don't live it. I don't know what's going on. So
yeah.
I won't really comment much about it.
Yeah, it's not my class.
Yep.
But yeah, and then, like you said, you got pole both days, and by how much? Well, the first day you beat me out by 34 thousandths of a second. Cruz was Cruz was half a tenth back from you, so a quarter of a tenth back from me, and then Mark was almost 2 tenths back, and then Bryce was a little bit over 2 tenths, and then there was another kid, Wyatt. He was just under half a second back. But I mean, you're talking top 5 quarter of a second within each other, and top 3 within a tenth of each other. That was on Saturday, and then on Sunday, you got pulled by a little bit more of a margin. You beat Mark out by...
Dude, I still can't believe I pulled it off.
Yeah, by 86,000, so almost a tenth.
It's still not much.
No, like we're talking
almost
about...
a tenth.
Yeah, we're talking about nothing. But then second to 6th is covered by a tenth of a second. Like,
that's unbelievable.
41.37, 41.40, 41.41, 41.45, 41.46. Like this is one of the closest classes ever.
Absolutely, and that kind of proves my point. I just think that Tag Senior right now, if you want close, clean racing where people aren't taking people out, if there's no shenanigans, I haven't really heard about anybody trying to do mechanical, cheating here and there. It's just none of that is happening right now in Tag Senior.
Yeah.
It's just straight up, bring what you brung. It's all legal. Let's go racing and all finish within half a second of each other for the top 5. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Well, so Sunday's race, the start got a little touchy.
I've been meaning to ask you this.
Yeah. So I was at the forefront of it, but so with all of us running super close, I think this was really the first time that we've been really close together too. And then so the way the start went was, we get into the apex of the bowl. You kind of squirreled out because you were on the inside lane and moved out to the outside a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and which fine, cold tires, a little bit of understeer, nothing that like I wasn't expecting. I was sitting in fourth, so I saw that, and then Mark was right on your outside. He had to move up a little bit more, and he actually checked up a little bit because he didn't know how fast you were. It looked like he didn't know how fast you were moving over on him. Fine.
Yep.
I checked up too, so no issue. And then Cruz was up my inside, so he was clear of all that, so that wasn't an issue. But then you got yourself collected and going again, and then Mark got himself going again. I laid off a little bit and then went to go again, and I'm going, and you, Cruz, and Mark just go, and I'm like, my foot is to the floor. What is going on? And then I look back and I see Will Juba on top of my left rear, and I'm like, oh, hi there.
No.
Oh, hi there. And so I was like, I don't know how to get out of this because I'm the one underneath. I was like, my first thought is like, just don't come over my head. So then I tried to like turn to the right to just, in my head, I'm like, well, I might as well turn away from it, right? So then, but whatever happens within that second, the front of his cart then jumps itself off and then back down on the ground. And then like two carts slipped by us as well. Cause I was like, where was I at the end of that lap? I was 6th at the end of lap 1. Or at the start of lap 1, whatever it was. So, Nathan Barnes and Eamon Whitmore got by as well. But then, Bryce and, I'm terrible with numbers. 60. Yeah, Bryce and Adam got together at the start, and they were, I think, the row behind me and Cruz, or another row back.
So
from
row
that.
3,
row 3, row 4, and
okay.
But then we come by after lap 1, and they're on the inside of the bowl, off on the grass. There, just pulled off and out of the race, and I was like, oh, I don't know what happened to them, because but I guess from hearing from everyone else, I guess they got into it too. So
yeah.
Anyways, everyone was fine at the end of the race, so no harm, no foul, just a couple bent tie rods, I think, at the end of it. But
so the thing I've been meaning to ask you is that, like, did I screw up that starter for everybody getting sideways and shit like that?
I guess so, but at the same.
Oh, there's a hesitation.
I mean, if you're gonna, but the thing is, I wouldn't put you at fault for causing everything, because I would say that because the outside, because you're on the inside, the outside row is at much fault for causing the whole thing too, because if we're pinching the inside row and you have nowhere to go, then if you do have any kind of slip up, you have to check up. The outside might have to check up, which is what happened. So then it's just an accordion effect backwards. But we're going through a corner that is flat out. Like, no one should be braking. So if you do anything unexpected, like that's more of just a racing incident, and it's just what happens when you're all on top of one another like that. So I wouldn't. I don't know. It's tough. I'm not the biggest fan of the starting line of where that is at Loudon, but at the same point, name a better starting point for the race. So, it just is what it is, and it's the nature of the track. So,
and I don't know why, like, I got loose at that point. I guess it was just cold tires, but I also noticed that throughout the races and even in practices and whatnot, if I was following somebody through the bowl, like drafting them all the way down through the bowl, it would get loose for me, and I just kind of weird, but. Mm-hmm. By myself on the inside, nobody ahead of me, I'm not really sure why I kicked. And it just did, kind of out of nowhere. So I was like, whoop, and I saved it, you know?
Yeah.
It was an odd thing. So, I don't know. I apologize to Adam and whoever else got hooked up in that.
Yeah. I think out of the whole year, I think that was really the only incident that we really had, which has been good. So
You might be right.
That's not bad. Save the best for last, right?
All right. Well, I guess on that note, next racing coming up for NHK is the special 3-hour Enduro, October 8th at Canaan. Still waiting on I think some more details to come out on that, right, Alex?
I mean, we were given 8 bullet points about the race.
Mm-hmm.
And the most controversial one being that there's only one required pit stop when teams can be up to 3 drivers.
Yeah, but there hasn't been in a formal announcement of what the rules are yet, because that was just a preliminary set of rules, right?
I guess.
All right.
I'm not sure.
I think they're still gonna did they send an email out today? I think they sent out an email today.
Did they? Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Whatever. I guess we'll wait for more confirmation, because I don't even think we can register for the race yet, or maybe that's what the email wasn't telling. Yeah. All right. Any other news in the racing world? Anyone has anything to share?
Nope.
If we want to make a full circle, go all the way back to NASCAR, I'm not sure you guys have talked about Kyle Busch moving to RCR next year.
I did touch upon it, but I think he may. I was really shocked by the move because I really don't see Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch as a good pairing, but I think it's more towards how does it benefit his son Brexton growing up, because I think he wants to get his son into NASCAR. I'm taking a gander at it, and that might be just the benefit with that as well versus Joe Gibbs. At least that's all I could really, see happening, why he would go to RCR. And maybe seeing Tyler Reddick win at road courses and seeing, like, well, if he can do that, well, I can do way better. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's thinking too.
All right. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, was his future at Gibbs never going to continue? Because as somebody watching from the, basically somebody who only vaguely pays attention to NASCAR these days anymore, like, when I saw that it was all like, talks about Kyle Busch and his contract with Gibbs and it might not work out, I was surprised, to be honest with you.
It's very real. Mars did not want to put any money down for Joe Gibbs anymore, which I'm very shocked by. Yeah. I mean, they've been a sponsor for so long in NASCAR. I mean, beyond Kyle Busch's first year with Joe Gibbs and Toyota in 2008, it was Ken Schrader, Elliott Sadler,
right.
Other drivers that had at least M&M's or Mars funding. I'm shocked, but I mean, all things coming to an end, right?
I guess. Was Mars looking to go elsewhere? Or they were just kind of like, I'm done with NASCAR.
I think they're done with NASCAR. I mean,
really?
How else would they go out? They're on a top team, top driver. I'm not exactly the biggest Kyle Busch fan, but I became a fan of his, if anything, after the 2012 Bud Shootout, where he spun it 2 times and won it, 5 passing Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was he showed himself to be a true wheelman that night. Oh, what a night.
All right. Well, yeah, that's kind of the only other professional racing thing I was curious about, and I knew Nate would have the best opinion.
Yeah.
Hey, I try. Well, anything else, Christian?
No, I was just gonna say I think it's been 2 hours.
Oh, nice. Rock on.
Yes.
So, yeah, time flies when we're having fun.
That's right.
All right. So
Well, thank you, Alex, for
Hey, no
telling
problem.
us about
Yeah.
the win. I mean,
Thank you, dude.
I didn't get to see it in person, but I mean, I loved hearing about it, and
Yeah.
one of these days I'll be back. I'll be on the grid. I'll be on the grid joining
you
you two
should be.
fellas.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Should be,
let's go.
absolutely.
Yeah. No,
Matter of time.
Alex, it's I know we said this, but we talked about this at the track. But dude, it's been a pleasure racing you for a whole season again. And,
It's been great, dude.
Dude, it's
You two always have the best battles.
We do. We
Yeah,
can't get
yeah,
rid of
no,
each
we-
other ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
The running joke is we literally occupied like the same set of space, no matter what.
At all times, whether it
Yeah.
be
If you-
F1 Boston or iRacing or Tag Senior.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
just are within a tenth of each other at all times.
Or even the podcast world,
Yeah, I mean, well, let me put it this way: if you guys were selling real estate, you'd be selling the same house.
Yeah. pretty
Exactly.
much,
That's
yeah.
what it feels like.
Yeah, no, it's always been that close. I mean, the fact that we came into this weekend that close is unreal. And then
Yeah.
because we pretty much left off or returned right where we left off, because the only other time I raced with you was Pro League at F1 Boston.
Yeah.
And I beat you on the championship by 1 point. And the last,
Yeah.
all I remember is the last
Yeah.
race summed up that season perfectly, because you finished first, I finished second, and fastest lap you beat me by a thousandth of a second.
Yep.
Like that's
Always right there.
just how close we've always been.
Yep. Thank God we're that close to each other at the front of the field.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and
It'd be
that's
hilarious if
yeah.
we were always that close to each other at like
Yeah,
eighth
right. It's
place.
not like you guys are Latifi and Mazepin in 19th and 20th,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah. No, it's been great racing you, dude. Congrats on second place in the championship. So
Well, thank you. It's always been great racing you two, dude. It has been phenomenal. Not just even this year. It's always been phenomenal racing you. Like everything we've ever done. So
yeah. And Nate, eventually when we race with you again, we can have some more congratulatory stuff.
oh yes. No, just wait.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. The stuff that I've been doing with you on iRacing has been close.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's been good stuff.
That's been fun. That's been fun times. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, for sure.
Well, actually, speaking of that, we probably should wrap up so we can go do some more.
oh, you guys got
Yeah.
the thing. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Lego.
So, gotta go race ARCA cars.
Thanks again, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I think I've done just let's see, the same amount of appearances on the Red Mist podcast as I've done actual episodes of Formula Hooligan this summer. So
Hey.
I appreciate it.
well, it's
Venti.
your Formula Hooligan podcast is not a one man show. It does require someone else to
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah, it does.
So,
And we did record an episode that I have yet to put out. However, I'm debating as to whether or not I even want to put it out or not. It was recorded, on site at Lime Rock Park on Saturday night after all of us were very much drunk and baking under the sun all day. And, well, let me tell you, it was a rough one. The brain was definitely dead that day.
Yeah.
So I might still release that episode and just let people laugh at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
We had a few people take over that weren't just myself and Charlie as well to kind of fill in the gaps. So
yeah.
We'll see if that comes out someday soon.
All right.
All right.
Well, this has been episode 20. Good conversations and talks about racing and whatnot. This weekend, again, kind of another. Is there NASCAR this weekend?
Of course. Yeah, the playoffs are continue at Texas Motor Speedway. So, yeehaw over there, and we'll look forward to that race, and I'll be sure to recap that because I'm sure Sean is very excited to watch it too. So,
well, next week we'll have the preview to the Singapore Grand Prix and all that jazz. So, all right.
Is Singapore not this weekend?
No, not this weekend.
No,
next weekend.
no, October 2nd.
Yeah, because this weekend was supposed to be Russia, or last week was this weekend was supposed to be Russia.
I see.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening, guys. We will see you next week.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Thank you guys for listening to the Red Mist Podcast, hosted by Christian Abbott, Sean Abbott, and Nathan Lavin. It's produced by Christian Abbott, and music is by Alex Wart and Harrison Tate.